Oh, please no. Alright, hello everyone, there's a new experimental patch that's just gone up and I'm here to show you what's new. As an overview, there are 5 buffs in this patch. D.Va, Moira, Orisa, Hog and Sombra. Baptiste has been adjusted and Echo and Reinhardt have been nerfed. Baptiste's secondary fire now does 10 less healing on AoE, but does 20 more healing for direct hits. Immortality Field now only protects teammates to 10% of their max health instead of 20%. D.Va's Call Mech damage is now up to 250 from 50. When Echo's ult ends, she will return to the health value she had before casting her ultimate, or 100 health, whichever value is higher. Moira's Biotic Orb cooldown has been lowered by 2 seconds. Orisa's Halt cooldown has been lowered by 2 seconds. Reinhardt's armor has been lowered by 50, which lowers his total health pool down to 500 from 550. Roadhog's scrap gun damage per pellet has been increased from 6 to 6.6. Sombra's fade time when entering or exiting stealth has been reduced from 0.75 to 0.45 seconds, and her movement speed bonus when in stealth has been increased by 10%. Alright, so some of you may not like what I have to say, but this patch is a severe disappointment. It feels like with April Fools we got a glimpse of the kind of experimental changes we could be getting, and Blizzard just said, psych? Yeah, it was April Fools, but these changes didn't come out of thin air. They were 100% click dragged from some Overwatch 2 build, and it is a terrible shame that one of the most interesting patches we could have gotten was a joke. Anyway, when I think, what does the game need right now? It's Overwatch 2. In lieu of that, we have recycled events, skins, and patch notes. It feels that everyone was very impressed with the April Fool's patch, and obviously a good portion of the changes were jokes, but they were interesting. A lot of the changes, like Moira's orb recharging in exchange for heals, or Bap's heals doing more on impact, added a satisfying, rewarding aspect to playing heroes that the game simply lacks. Hardwired mechanics that react to and reward you for doing something right are incredibly healthy for any game. I'll talk about the specific hero changes in a sec, but in another light, there are a lot of changes that could be seen as not needed based on the meta, etc., or a hero being too strong. Just because a hero is in a good spot does not mean that mechanics that increase the depth of enjoyability and reward to playing that hero are bad. You could see the Overwatch meta right now as being in a more or less good spot with a couple minor tweaks needed here or there, but that does not mean the game isn't stagnating or even dying as we wait for Blizzard to give us what we've been waiting for. I'd also like to say that this doesn't mean that I think adding more abilities and interactions or even cooldowns to keep track of are a good thing. The game has a serious visual clutter issue for the average player, and this could worsen that. Last of all, perhaps my overall disappointment is in the fact that the April Fool's patch actually felt like an experimental card. This is another hit or miss patch, which I'm going to say hopefully will only have half of the changes go live. Right, so I'm trying something out a bit new. I will be rating each change on a scale out of 10 for the fun factor. This takes into account how fun it is to play the new change and play against it. Right, so first up is Bap. Lamp still feels the same to use, and there's more reward for hard pocketing somebody. Never feels super interactive to AoE heal, so a net benefit for hitting shots is nice. Ana is fun for a reason. Counterplay for Lamp is even greater, and there should be good reward for destroying it. If this change still doesn't affect the overall strength of Lamp, it needs to be reworked in my opinion. It's on a knife's edge of being too damn strong, but a nerf or two away from being easy to kill and useless. It's a shame they haven't gone with the Lamp as a damage reduction field like the April Fool's change, change. I'd also like to say that his regen burst is a god-awful ability from a gameplay depth standpoint. It really is just a self-heal and a little added AoE heal. I'd like to see them remove it, give Bap a 25% self-heal with his right click, and go with the April Fool's changes. I like the approach of making his healing purely better for single targets, and because it's hard to hit, the natural best is a slow-moving tank, which puts Orisa at the top, but Reinhardt is still not far from there. Overall, you can kind of see that Blizzard didn't really expect Baptiste to be a natural pairing with a Reinhardt rushdown comp, but his toolkit is very strong, and I reckon taking away regen burst could be a good way to address this. Overall, I'd just like to see them experiment a bit more with what they're doing with his right click. If they did what I suggested and took away regen burst, maybe the bonus healing for direct hits would be dealt over time. Just experiment. Anyway, the Bap change gets a fun factor of 6 out of 10. I like how this pushes him more towards how it feels to play Ana, and there's more counterplay to his most oppressive part of his kit. Right, so the D.Va change obviously adds to the humor of the game. This is really only going to give you kills as an edge case scenario, considering you don't get your mech back faster like in the April Fool's patch. Hopefully this just serves to stop stalling baby D.Va, and that's it. Anything else will feel too BS, and D.Va doesn't really need to be stronger right now. But I will say this is a clever idea and I like it. I just hope it will only do what it's intended to do. Stalling respawns could essentially be seen as clock abuse. It's sort of a side effect mechanic of there being a clock and respawn times in the game that was sort of unforeseen and not really intended. It's a fun factor of 6 out of 10 for me. Right, so the echo change is a bit of a miss for me. Hit scan feels super dominant at the moment, and because of the hard shutdown potential of Echo's ult as it is, this probably isn't needed, but Echo returning at full health does feel BS at times, so this is crap for Echo players, but fine for everyone else. Fun factor of 4 out of 10. It makes sense, but I don't think it's necessary. The Moira change is disappointing. She'll build coalescence so ridiculously fast with this change, it's insane. After every single potentially interesting change they've experimented with, I really hope this one doesn't go through. It's clear they want to replace Bap as the go-to AoE healer with a Ryan Lucio comp by doing this, but in my opinion, adding more biotic orbs to the game is not the way to do this. It's a terrible idea because no one wants to get coalescenced every team fight. On top of that, more visual clutter from orbs just sucks. This also doesn't really up the fun factor for anyone, including Moira. It isn't that interesting a change. It would at least be more fun for Moira if they just went with the April Fool's cooldown lowered for healing change. Fun factor of 3 out of 10 for me. Right, so the Orisa change means that every time you try to flank an Orisa, you will get halted. Sure, it's always nice to have lower cooldowns, but I don't think anyone's jumping at the opportunity to get CC'd every 6 seconds. I'd much rather see something along the lines of her forward move speed April Fool's change, even just for a test. I'd actually be interested to see how it'd play out if she had faster backwards move speed, which would teach the average player that kiting is what you're supposed to do for a good amount of the time. This coupled with the hog changes could mean we see some Orisa hog. Not sure how I feel about that. Fun factor of 3 out of 10. Reinhardt's health changes will barely feel relevant to any one person attacking a Rein. This could potentially affect the outwardly oppressive steamrolling potential of a rush composition, but this is probably being put in place because of Bap's upped single target healing. I still reckon they should revert Rein's original damage buffs and leave it as is. Fun factor of 3 out of 10. Right, so Roadhog. This change for the average player can barely be felt and will likely only have one effect in higher ranks. As seen with previous Hog changes when he became meta for a while, Hog is likely in a very good place and just needs a tiny bit of balance of other tanks to shift to become viable. This is likely unnecessary and will just make Hog better at shredding main tanks. Hog does not need to be good at everything. Fun factor of 3. Sombra. Okay, obviously as Sombra, this is fun. For everyone else, God, this is bad. The net time to react to EMPs and hacks has been severely reduced and makes the only counterplay to her right click much harder to pull off. Really, I'm of the opinion that this should be Sombra's sleep dart. The way you use hack is super boring. You just hold right click and you get someone or you don't, and then they have zero fun playing the game. Fun factor of 2 out of 10. So that really lands this patch for me as a fun factor of about 3 out of 10 overall. The April Fool's patch would have been at least an 8. Anyway guys, I'd just like to thank you for making it this far and watching my videos. If you could leave a like or subscribe, it really helps me out. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this patch in the comments. I feel very strongly about it, and I'll see you in my next video. Cheers.